Time Rekha immersing herself in the role was a kind of a miracle in itself. She's very intelligent. She can see
Indeed.
through things.
The Royals करके जो शो आया रिसेंटली स्ट्रीमिंग पे वो देखा आपने?
एक मिनट आपका बच गया. ये एक मिनट हंस सकती है पूरी दिल खोल के. I think it was Jackie Shroff's mother. Some house was being broken or something like that on Pedder Road or something. So I just borrowed those doors from there.
Does Jackie Shroff know this?
वो अपनी दुनिया में.
I am in conversation with Muzaffar Ali, and it's wild. It is my mother's dream come true to sit with you, to talk to you about Umrao Jaan for days and days. And I'm she's going to be very jealous when she finds out. Salam, Muzaffar Saab, kaise hain aap?
आप कैसी?
Sir, मजेदार, खुश, जिंदगी में अव्वल नंबर. Congratulations on the re-release, sir. How's it feeling?
I think it's very, what should I say? It's a very gratifying feeling. It's like something is alive. It's not just alive, it's that people want it alive. It's not like I'm doing anything. It's just everything. People want to see this film. They want to make it happen. And that's the energy I'm getting from outside, which is very, energizing. Because whoever like you said what you said, a lot of people are giving me the same vibes in terms of what they've been thinking of Umrao Jaan, what it's meant to them and their parents and their even at times grandparents. And the fact that the film is still young and alive is a very rare thing, I would say. Particularly the music and the songs and the ambience of the film is, I think the ambience is actually quite layered and timeless.
Yeah. One of the reasons the film also stays alive is that every film or TV show that has come since Umrao Jaan that has even touched upon the topic of courtesans, of whether it is Uttar Pradesh, whether it is current Pakistan, erstwhile India, it's somewhere or the other been in conversation with Umrao Jaan. Whether it is the costuming, whether it is the stylization, the music, you find hints of Umrao, you find hints of inspiration that the filmmakers have taken. Do you observe that? Do you follow these shows and these movies closely? Do you watch these?
I don't, I can't say I follow those films carefully, but I think, if somebody gets pure inspiration, that's, I can understand. But if people, I'm not even a judge in this matter, it's for others to decide what they make of people trying to, I don't know what to say, because it's something which is done and delivered. And, it's done in a way that it's done in as deep as layered as it could have been. So उसको उधेड़ना इतना आसान नहीं है.
आसान नहीं है कोशिश.
It's just an abstract inspiration, you know what I mean? You can't, I don't think it can teach you anything. It can make you feel. If you think you can learn something from the film and make another film like that, then it's a little slightly far-fetched, because it's a journey of its own, you know what I mean? So you can celebrate the journey and take your own journey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's more the enrichment that this film is given, like even when I went to Pakistan for this Fez festival 5-6 years back, there was a session on Umrao Jaan. So there's one very shy lady at the end of when I was going out. She was too timid to say anything, but when I was going out, she said, "Ab main aapse kya kahun, Umrao Jaan to hamara ओढ़ना बिछोना है." So that kind of an intimacy Umrao Jaan has. So
Yeah.
उसको आप बाजार में लाके नहीं खड़ी कर सकते फिल्म को.
Yeah.
It's a very intimate one-to-one experience.
Yeah. But in my understanding
I
of
don't think you can even see
contemporary,
it in a hall, it's to be seen very intimately in
Yeah.
your room on a big screen television. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is
Or
an intimate film, and
yeah.
a lot of it comes from your own, the life that you saw growing up and the people, books, literature, art, culture around you. Now, is this correct? You were 37 years old when the film released in 1981. Is that true?
If you've calculated, then it must be true. I haven't calculated.
But you were in your 30s, Muzaffar Saab. I am almost 37 right now, and I can't fathom the grit, the work it must have taken to bring that film to life at that. Can you take me back to that time? Do you remember being 37 and presenting this film for the first time in a movie theater?
Yeah, I mean, I can take you there, and I
Yeah.
can tell you what I went through when I was making it, and before I was making it, and while I was making it. I think these things are very clear in one's head, because like before I was making it and how I was making it, it was really, it was a discovery, of
Hmm.
myself and my world and my, whatever made me what I am, all the days and nights and mornings, evenings, seasons, everything, that I was made of, I think began to play a part in making of the film because you had to work with moods, you had to work with spaces, you had to work with light, you had to work with sound, and everything has a throwback. So without a throwback, you can't recreate. So to recreate, I was trying to imagine my past. And to imagine your past, you have to be very abstract. You don't imagine your past in exact in terms of stories. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
imagine your past in terms of more intangible thoughts. So that is what gives you the creative thrust. Because the moment you go into stories, you're going into other dimensions that really don't make the film. That just give you that that gives you just a sense of storytelling or narrative. Because the
Hmm.
narrative story is already there. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to add
Yeah.
feeling to that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to add feeling to that story, you have to really become very abstract in terms of your thought process. And fortunately, I although I was working in Air India at that time when I was starting the film, I was not distracted by anything. You know what I mean? I was just driving to work and coming back, and in the drive, I was just listening to the tape of the film. You know what I mean? So that way, I mean, I was imagining. I gave myself enough time to imagine. And I think that's what really became the power of the film.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you made the film, you, I mean, for me as a painter, I usually sketch out a lot of details so that I know exactly what kind of light, what kind of camera position, what kind of, set or space I'm going to need to tell a story, to show, to enact a scene.
Ji.
And obviously, that process becomes very rich because you are then in command of the Miza scene. And
Yeah.
then after that, you're dealing with artists, and each artist has already been deeply worked upon. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, like what you see Rekha as, and Rekha on screen. I mean, there've been layers and layers of planning and working that have gone into making Rekha what she's going to be on screen.
Yeah.
Like what she's going to say, how she's going to say it, all the music and all the lyrics that are going to be part of her, you know, storytelling, or let's say the trajectory of her life. I think all these things are worked upon in great detail to make Rekha really something beyond everything. At the same time, Rekha herself immersing herself in the role was a kind of a miracle in itself,
तो तुम्हें मिलता वो कोठा और मुझे ये कोठी।
Did you have to convince her to do the part? Was she all on board? You went to her with the book? Did you go to her with the script? Do you remember that moment first approaching Rekha ji? And then second, after she agreed to become your Umrao, do you remember seeing her as Umrao for the first time when she came, when she put on the get-up and the makeup and the jewelry?
See, it's not that. I think it's more the attitude. It's the attitude of, let's say, surrender. I think is very important because I'm surrendering to her, and she has to surrender through the role. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're dealing with elements which are too hard to apply. You know what I mean? So that, and I mean, obviously, I went with a great deal of feeling and conviction, which I think she saw in the first. She's very intelligent. She can see
Indeed.
through things, understand things, what is good for her, what in which she can add value. So that was not a big job to sell the idea to her because she, I think, was in love with the idea right from the beginning.
Do you
Today is very
recall?
difficult to find people with that kind of openness, and they have too many preconditionings and things like that.
Yeah. आपकी परवरिश खुद एक राजघराने में हुई है. You're the prince of Kotwara. Um, when it came to selecting locations for Umrao Jaan, what are the locations that you finally finalized upon? Did you feel like maybe you wanted to shoot it in places that you were familiar with and places that you knew already growing up around the culture?
Well, my thing was to be as authentic as possible and not extravagant. You know what I mean? Because in the extravagance, you lose the the ethos and the pathos. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make the scenes very simple, very, very earthy, very organic. You know what I mean? So, and the set I designed myself, which is in Bombay later on. The set work happens later in Mehboob studio. That was a different story altogether. But the story of locations in Lucknow, there was, I think, nothing very elaborate. I just wanted textures to speak. You know what I mean? And for textures to speak, you have to really work hard on them. There was a Mughal Saab ka Imam Bada, which was just amazing. It's just the texture of the wall and the plaster work and the woodwork. It was, I think, nobody had seen that place. I spent about 2 months in just restoring that Imam Bada, just for two scenes. So the same thing I did with. There were a lot of interesting, simple, soft furnishings that I used, and it was just a question of how you dress a set and how you choose a place and how the light comes in and how all that happens. So I don't think it was any kind of. I, I didn't spend much money at all on the sets. It was just
Yeah.
some homes that I knew. I think the only money I spent was on that Mughal Saab ka Imam Bada, just for 2 days,
Yeah.
I mean, two scenes. But that was too beautiful. I couldn't let it go. And I wish we had found something like that, which could have been the Kotha. The Kotha itself, which I made in Bombay, I used to just rub it with my hands to give the patina of being used, the pillars being used. And I bought old doors, from somewhere. I think it was Jackie Shroff's mother. Some house was being broken or something like that on Pedder Road or something. So I just borrowed those doors from there. I wanted
क्या
the
बात है?
woodwork to feel real. So usually in a set they don't do all that because the door opening closing is a very important part of a of a scenario. And it
Yeah.
has to he does have to open close all the time, and they have to have the right weight to fling open and close.
Does Jackie Shroff know this? That his old home's doors are in Umrao Jaan? उनको पता है ये बात?
वो अपनी दुनिया में उनके अपने दरवाजे हैं उस पे हमने नॉक नहीं किया
ये वीडियो को हम किसी तरह उन तक क्लिप करवा के भिजवा देंगे एंड देन वी विल सी इफ
वो तो अपना वो कुछ वो वीडियो कर देंगे उसका
मुजफ्फर साहब, जैसे आपने लोकेशंस को रिस्टोर किया, एक लोकेशन को रिस्टोर किया, ये फिल्म भी फाइनली रिस्टोर हुई है NFAI NFDC के
Correct.
कॉम्बिनेशन के साथ।
Got it right.
सेगवे ना बेस्ट मैं,
Nice.
अरे सर अब क्या
I'm a
सेगवे है।
restorer.
आपकी आपने भी रिस्टोर किया और आपकी फिल्म भी अब रिस्टोर हुई है 4K रेस्टोरेशन। ये सिलसिला कब शुरू हुआ कि उमराव जान को रिस्टोर करना है, क्योंकि अब जो भी प्रिंट
कुछ
पब्लिकली
साल हो
अवेलेबल
गए
है वो बेहतरीन तो नहीं है। जी सॉरी।
नहीं वो असल में क्या है वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू लुक आफ्टर सेल्यूलॉइड बिकॉज वो तो ना कोई किसी के पास वो कंडीशंस हैं रखने की वो जमाना ही सब चला गया तो इट हैड टू बी रिस्टोर्ड एंड जो एक रखी थी हमारे वर्ल्ड राइट कंट्रोलर के पास वो इट हैज नेगेटिव इट गॉट स्टक सो fortunately the film archive had a had one print so we worked on that print and I think that's a story worth telling because it's something that National Film Archives it can only tell you exactly what goes into restoring. I can only say what colors are right, so the textures are right. I mean, you can't do anything because it's already there. It's to get that grading and sharpness. Sometimes I don't know, maybe you can't do it, and sometimes it happens. So the fact is that the new restored version is very, very crisp and good looking. And it gives a new lease of life. Now it can go to the OTT. Fortunately, it had not been to the OTT. So people
जी
had not seen the film on the OTT. They've seen it through other ways, or pirated copies here and there. But now they'll be able to see it on OTT when I sell it. The thing is that I brought out a coffee table book is also quite a big job, because from the restoration process, from all the archives that I could lay my hands on, from Kamath Photo Flash to my own collections, I could, muster up 250 color prints which I used in the story. I mean, of the making of Umrao Jaan. And that was quite a big exercise. So that is going to be released on the same day. And
Yes,
we've
the
got some
26th of June, we're also releasing a coffee table book about Umrao Jaan that you have authored. And that book has stories of the making of the film and the restoration. And what else can we expect to read in that book? Because I'm getting my hands on it the moment it's out.
You are going to read a poem written by Rekha on the film. Don't laugh.
No, no, I'm smiling. This is a smile, Muzaffar Saab.
It's very, very, very touching. Very nice. So Rekha is ready. I mean, I think you can, from that poem, you can feel what she must have gone through at that time. Write poetry to create her journey, you know what I mean? So what was the most touching and appealing was the one ghazal which I had found in his divan. That ghazal was ये क्या जगह है दोस्तों ये कौन सा दयार है हदे निगाह तक जहां गुबार ही गुबार है. I wanted that to be the final ghazal of the film, you know what I mean?
Ji.
And then we worked backwards from there to uh, to achieve, first is the early optimism of a young woman growing up, having come to terms with the kotha, and that's दिल चीज क्या है आप मेरी जान लीजिए या कहिए तो आसमां को जमी पर उतार लाएं मुश्किल नहीं है कुछ भी अगर ठान लीजिए.
ठान
So
लीजिए.
that kind of optimism I wanted so that she can at least have the energy to face the world, to begin with. And then having the confidence that इन आंखों की मस्ती के मस्ताने हजारों में इस शम्मे फरोजा को आंधी से डराते हो इस शम्मे फरोजा के परवाने हजारों में. So that kind of a confidence a woman has. So this is a very organic poetry writing which takes place which I think takes more time than making a film.
जी
A film may take 2 years to do. This can take 3 years to do. You know what I mean?
जी
Get it out and to put it into music and to work with the composer and the singer to bring out something which is as if coming from Lucknow, you know, and coming from the heart of this character, you know.
इस अंजुमन में आपको आना है बार-बार।
दूसरा सवाल म्यूजिक के बारे में ही, आशा भोसले को चुनना उमराव की आवाज बनने के लिए, वाज दैट जस्ट एन इजी डिसीजन फॉर यू कि आशा ही गाएंगे ये गाने?
नहीं नहीं, ये तो पहले ही इस फिल्म को जयदेव कर रहे थे म्यूजिक.
अच्छा.
तो ही इनफैक्ट ही had a lady in mind, Madhurani, who he composed some stuff with her. They were nice, but उनमें कुछ वो उड़ान जो चाहिए थी वो नहीं मिल पाता. The oomph wasn't there. In fact, the other day I phoned आशा जी, कहने देखिए पहले तो आप मुझे एक गाना मिल रहा था, जयदीप जी ने कहा तो मैं तुमसे एक गाना गवाऊंगा, और फिर देखिए मुझे कयाम साहब ने सारे गाने दे दिए. She remembers all these things, you know.
I think this is as much her film as it is Rekha ji's film.
For her, it's her best. I mean, her biggest uh, high. You know, she said, कहीं भी जाती हूँ तो बगैर उमराव जान गाए तो लोग छोड़ते नहीं, गवाए तो छोड़ते नहीं. तो वो तो उनके लिए तो एक हासिल जिंदगी है उमराव जान.
अभी हमारे पास देखिए 1 ही मिनट बाकी रह गया है, ये जूम कॉल खत्म हो जाएगी 1-1.5 मिनट के अंदर अंदर. तो अब इसको हम रीस्टार्ट कर पाएंगे या नहीं, क्योंकि मुझे एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे पूछना था. ये थोड़ा सा मतलब हमें, चलिए सीरियस बातें कर ली, फिल्मों की बातें कर ली, बट एक मैं थोड़ा हल्का सा सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ. द रॉयल्स करके जो शो आया रिसेंटली स्ट्रीमिंग पे, वो देखा आपने, जिसमें मॉडर्न डे मोनार्की के ऊपर शो बनाया है?
उसके तो अब 1 मिनट आपका बच गया.
नहीं देखा आपने वो शो?
आपका टाइम बच गया ना. आप इसको ये 1 मिनट हंस सकती हैं आप पूरी दिल खोल के.
मुजफ्फर साहब, मेरी हंसी से क्या दिक्कत है? हंसने वाले लोग
दिक्कत
कितने
नहीं है,
कम
मजा
मिलते
आता
हैं
है.
आजकल.
ये तो कह रहा हूँ कि आप उसमें परेशान हो जाती हैं उस जवाब में.
ओहो, मैं
हंसी
जानना
भी.
चाह रही थी कि कोटवारा के राजकुमार के क्या विषय ओपिनियन है इन शोज पर जो
वक्त तो है ही नहीं आप पास.
ऐसे सर आप नहीं, मतलब ऐसे स्विमिंग करते थे, ऐसे एब्स दिखाते हुए ऐसे राजकुमार जी, नहीं, इन योर यंगर डेज?
क्या करते हो, हमको क्यों बताएं.
Muzaffar Saab, thank you so much for your time today, and good luck for the re-release. It's going to be an incredible show. People are going to turn up from everywhere. It's going to be great. Thank you so much.
जी, हमारी समा सलाम कहिए अपनी वालदा से.
उनको मैं किताब खरीद के दूंगी आपकी पहले ही दिन.
हाँ जरूर.
Thank you, Muzaffar Saab.
ओके बाय.